Hi, welcome back to Hidden Gems Podcast. I am your host, Jupiter, and today we're going to be going over Stray Kids lore. Alright, yeah, you heard me right, Stray Kids lore. So, that's what this is. But first, I'm going to have to introduce you to some of the members of Stray Kids. Now, some of them may not be relevant in the story yet, but they probably will end up being relevant at some time. And at this moment, this is all we have so far. So, I'm going to get started. And so, this is Bang Chan. His English name is Christopher. He is Australian, and he is a leader. He's the leader of the group, and he is a producer and is part of the producer group 3 Gotcha. Now, this is Lino. That's his stage name. Minho is his real name. And he is Korean, and he is one of the dancers of the group in the subunit called Dance Racha. This is Changbin. He is a rapper and producer of the group. He is also Korean, and his English name is Lewis. You know, we got Rhino up here. Lewis. Rhino Lewis. Rhino Lewis. Okay. Now we're going to go down to Hyunjin, who's also Korean. His English name is Samuel, and he is another dancer for the group. Then we're going to go down here to Jisung's stage name, Han, and he is another producer for the group, a rapper. He is also Korean. Down here we have Felix, who is also Australian, along with Bang Chan, keep in mind. And he is a dancer, and he is infamous for his line, "Cooking like a chef, I'm a 5-star Michelin." Iconic, never done before. I thought that chefs could have 5 Michelin stars because of him. They can only have 3, but that's why the line is so good. Anyways, now we're moving on to Seungmin. He is Korean. His English name is Sky, and he is one of the 2 vocalists of the group. Now we get to Jongin, stage name Ian, English name Bob, and he is another one of the vocalists of the group. He's also Korean. I don't know if I've said that yet, but now we're going to get into the lore of Stray Kids. So we start out here with District 9, yes, and so this is where the boys, they end up in a cloning factory. They are cloned, yes. So then they escape the building, but not with the correct Jongin. Keep in mind, him right here, Jongin, Ian, Bob, if you will. And so they accidentally take the clone version of Ian or Jongin or Bob instead. Right. So they have clone Jongin, but they think that they have regular, like original Jongin. And I'm going to be calling, so for pink we have, this is the originals. And for blue, this is indicating something to do with the clones. Green is most of them. Some of them are not labeled with the green, though. It was just kind of something I came up with last second. But, so then, we start our kind of like on the run rebel era. It says criminal up here. Ignore that. They're rebellious, okay? Then we get up here to awkward silence. Now this is where awkward silence get cool, right? This is a music video showing the clones being trained to act human. They're not. The clones are not human. They are clones. But they are being trained to act human so they can pass as humans. Now, then we go down here to Miro, where now the originals are rebelling against the government. They have this entire operation set up. They have, like their cameras, and, we have Clone Jungin over here. He's monitoring the cameras with Hyunjin and I believe Changbin. And so, like, they're all just monitoring it, and they kind of, like, mess some stuff up, for the government, you could say, I guess. So then we go over here to side effects. They've run away because side effects is interesting because you could interpret it, like, as for the lore for different ways. And as I was doing this timeline, I was like, going back and forth on what I thought it was, and I think I've now decided that it is actually the originals having side effects from their cloning. Yeah, because I originally thought like, oh, it could be the clones, and they're finding out that they're not actually like the original humans and everything, but that wouldn't make sense because why wouldn't they know that they're clones? Because they're also being taught like how to act human, and they're not like little like kids. They're like teenager, like no, they're like adults. Yeah, like just barely adults. And so basically it just is, oh, they're being taught. And so it makes more sense for side effects to be affecting the original group than it would be for it to be affecting the clones. Okay, got that? Good. Now we have our criminals who are still hiding out in Double Knot. They went to the setting in side effects as a way to get away from everything, and, another way of hiding. And this is where we're introduced to the idea of Felix being the group's compass. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is a compass? It is in Stray Kids lore, it is a guide. Felix has the ability to teleport and or time travel, and he does use that to get them out of situations multiple times, as we will see further on. So, now, in Levanter, Felix fully reveals himself to the group as said compass, and that's really all that happens there. Now we get to Gone Days, right? And you may be thinking that this is where the clones are, they're still in their, I guess, acting like a human training or something. No, you are wrong. This is actually the originals. It is a flashback to the originals when they start to learn how to rebel. Now, why am I saying this? Why is this my interpretation of it? I think that because they are rebelling against their teacher, who's just trying to get them to think a certain way, but they want to come up with their own thoughts and opinions, and they're just basically saying that the older generation is so stuck in their ways, and they're not going to be, and that they're going to change and stuff. And so now we get to God's Menu. God's Menu is fun. God's Menu is a wonderful music video. And it is where, and in the said music video, we have the originals running an illegal race car track and kitchen. Now you may be asking why that combo. Well, I guess that race car drivers, I'm sure they're hungry. I'm sure illegal race car drivers are hungry. I would be, So, and because we start out in a kitchen with Changbin here, and he is beginning to cook. Now, this is where we get the iconic line, "Cooking like a chef, I'm a 5-star Michelin." Delivered to us by our bestie over here, Lee Felix. Lee Felix is our bestie, yeah. So, basically, we get that line, and basically, at the end of it, they're found out, and they have to leave by way of Felix. You remember the time travel, you remember the teleporting, all that stuff. Okay, so then in Easy, it seems that the group went into the desert, right? And then in Backdoor, it is showed that they are strapped for cash, and therefore they rob an art museum. Now you may be thinking this is out of character for them. I just have to point out to you that they did mess up entire government in Miro. Pretty sure they overthrew them. So yeah, just to remind you of that. That was my interpretation of it, though, and that does not mean that it is fully inclusive. So allegedly they overthrew the government in Miro. Okay. So then, Backdoor, strapped for cash. Robin Art Museum. Then in Any and X, they are continuing to hide out after their little robbery. And then we go down here. Felix is taking them in the past. With his time travel. So then they are back in time and they continue their antics there. And we see this and we know this because there is a scene where Hyunjin, he takes a sign off of a board that's like, it's basically like a wanted poster for them, right? Yeah. So then we have our first clue that maybe the clones might be hot on the original's trail. Because, I don't know about you, I'd be a little mad. I'd be a little mad if, my friends all left me behind in a cloning facility and left with my clone instead. I'd be a little upset, But I think that it just probably festered for original Jungin, Because keep in mind, remember that the originals have the clone Jungin. So original Jungin is left with the clone group. So now in Cheese, the originals have to break out clone Jungin, because they're keep in mind they've been going around with clone Jungin this entire time, thinking that it's their Jungin. It's not. So they break him out, and because he's in this yellow room, he's tied up on a desk, and I think that this is where the clones actually captured clone Jungin, but the originals saved him. And then we go to surfing, and it is just Rhino up here, Lewis, and Felix. They're all just having a good, grand old time. It's summer song, good song, great music video. Then we come to the Ordinary trailer, right? So this is where the clones officially return, and we have clone Hyunjin. Evil clone Hyunjin pushes regular schmegular Felix, our cutie pie, out of a window. What was that for? You punk? But anyways, but Felix survives. But anyways, so Maniac, the originals come back to their time, and they, there's a few things that are different, that are, in the music video you would observe that, that's not really like real life. They went back, they changed the time. So then we go all the way back then we go to Freeze and Venom, and we see more of the group's criminal antics. There's an obvious mafia concept for the music video Freeze and for Venom. And in Venom, they actually managed to capture the clones, but the clones escape. I hate to burst your bubble. So, now we go to Maxident. And they just, the originals just continue to, commit crime, basically. And then we go to Case 143. And the rebels, are set up by the clones, who make it look like they committed a crime. That they, the rebels, committed a crime, but they didn't. And so the clones and rebels, they meet again. And, regular Jungin, he leads the clones on a path of vengeance for the rest of the group, leaving him behind at the Clone Center program building. Okay, so then we get to Superboard. They're, the group is still rebelling. I think they're building up their resources, and they also have started their own rock band. It was just something I noticed. It was just something like the rock and roll undertones of the entire thing. And then we go to Give Me Your TMI. Wonderful music video. And we're shown the story that the clones told, law enforcement, because in Case 143, they are police officers, the clones are. And so, what the clones told law enforcement was basically just the story of Kingsman, because Give Me Your TMI is a very, very clearly heavily inspired music video by Kingsman. Alright, so, yeah. And then we get to the 5-star album trailer. And this is where the clones they're setting up to blame the rebels for even more crimes. Uncool. And so that's just basically all that is. And then we get to S-Class, and the rebels are basically just like, they're just like messing around, and the government sends a Cyclops octopus their way, and it's also notable that Felix saves Hyunjin, and he saves him from being hit by a truck on fire by sending the truck in time by a few seconds. And then we get to La 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 La, and the rebels have formed an organization to stop the government and clones' antics, and are now considered fugitives or pirates by the government. So, in our final music video, in Megaverse, they rebel against the government, and with their more massive group now that they have, and they take down the leader of the cloning, the cloning program. They take him down, and then at the end of the music video, it is shown on a crossword that the program leader was sitting on his desk. He had the word Stray Kids written in the crossword, and using the A, it looks like somebody else sits down and writes the letters TABLO on said crossword. But besides that, that's all we really have so far. But this has been this episode of Hidden Gems. I've been your host, Jupiter. Thank you for watching. See you next time.